Hello everyone and welcome again to another brand new episode of the Committee Reads. I am your host KWCs, and with me today I have GVR, Birdman, and Nagoda. And today we'll be going over match 158, Gorosaurus vs. Varan by Connor Clennell. The native villagers of the Katami River woke up to a very surprising sight. They were unsure about what the strange reflective sphere in the sky was and what its purpose was, but it made the entire village nervous all the same. Was this a message from the gods? A destructive deity sent to punish them? Or a gift given to them for their continued offerings and devotion? They would find out soon enough. Within the Exilium mothership, their leader stared unamused at the village in its surroundings from the comfort of his command chair. I thought you told me there was a kaiju here. He leaned over to look at his various subordinates monitoring the ship's systems and exterior environment. I'm seeing a village and a bunch of primitive cattle, but no giant monster like you specifically said would be here. Of course, leader, one of the Exilians replied. The kaiju we detected is definitely here, just hidden. Our scans suggest it has made its home under the body of water known to the locals as the Kitakami River. I am sorry I messed that one up. Well, what are you waiting for? Beam it up! The commander snapped impatiently. Sir, we cannot simply capture the kaiju while it is still very much active. We must first tire it out so it will not be able to resist past.
Boring, the commander cut in. He sunk back into his chair and pressed one of the many buttons lining the lining the arm of the chair. My brain shut down for a brief second there, sorry. Gorosaurus? Fetch. A perfectly square opening appeared on the bottom of the ship, earning confused and fearful remarks from the villagers below. Suddenly an ear-splitting roar sounded out of the opening, and a pillar of light beamed down onto the forest below. A gigantic figure began to take shape, solidifying into the muscular bluish form of the Mondo Island predator, Gorosaurus. I thought Gorosaurus was green.
Yeah.
The Exilians had come back to Earth once again with the intention to destroy or enslave Earth's mighty monsters one by one. The current leader of the Exilian race had tried to kill Gorosaurus on Monster Island after shooting his own president, disagreeing with his idea of a peaceful takeover. Insert Trump joke here. The Kaiser's ultimate weapon, Monster X, a demon from the stars, had been dispatched to slay the giant reptile, but in a shocking twist of fate, he had been written by MM, so he died. After mourning the loss of one monster, the leader decided to replace with another. And what better monster to replace Monster X than the one who slain it? Gorosaurus had been captured, chained, and tortured horribly until his resolve broke and his will was replaced with his master's own. The once feared hunter was now nothing more than a puppet for the alien invaders' goals. Gorosaurus alone would not be enough to conquer the entire planet, unless MM's riding him, in which case he will be. But Birdman's riding him, so no. So the invaders scoured the seas, air, and land for more monsters to induct into their growing army. One such monster had been detected here, and Gorosaurus was given two objectives as he waited: kill or capture all kaiju. Gorosaurus bellowed again and advanced towards the water's edge, crushing trees, rocks, houses, and people carelessly beneath his feet. He reached the bank of the river and stared through the flowing water, tail softly batting the ground behind him, looking for head or hair of his designated quarry. Suddenly, the river's surface burst upward as something huge leapt out of the Kitakami River. Water splashed into Gorosaurus' eyes, earning a pained growl from the Allosaur-like kaiju. Blinking furiously, he looked with his clearing vision to see Varan crying a roar near identical to Gorosaurus' own, demanding the giant dinosaur to explain his presence and leave his territory at once. Gorosaurus responded in kind and charged toward the lizard kaiju, only to receive a nasty gash on his snout as Varan swiped his face with his claw. Gorosaurus backed off with sudden pain, giving Varan the chance to leap into the air and soar directly into the giant dinosaur, pushing him to the ground. Gorosaurus quickly tried to right himself, but with such small arms he wasn't able to get up quick enough. Varan swooped around again, kicking Gorosaurus in the face and flooring him yet again. The spiked lizard landed just a few meters away and roared defiantly, once again demanding Gorosaurus' immediate retreat. Said Kaiju's response was to slap his tail across Varan's face as he got up. Varan hissed in anger and leapt at Gorosaurus, but Gorosaurus was ready this time. Leaning back on his tail, the Allosaur shot his feet forward at an explosive speed, catching Varan squarely in the jaw and bringing him back down to the earth, dead instantly. Varan lay in the dirt unmoving, blood dripping from his jaw as it was broken in two.
Good grief.
Gorosaurus lumbered forward and planted his foot firmly on the lizard's back and bellowed, impaling his foot on the poison spikes, killing him as well.
Blast it.
Signaling his victory. His master would be pleased with this new addition to his army. Pass.
Suddenly there was a sharp pain in his ankle. Gorosaurus cried out in agony and looked down for the source of the pain. Varan's jaws were filled with rapture on the saurian's left ankle, his sharp, pointed teeth sinking deep into his flesh. He shook his head from side to side like a rabid dog, ripping skin and flesh apart while Gorosaurus howled and tried to shake him off. With a powerful swing of his leg, the monster shook off Varan and sent him flying back to the river. Gorosaurus watched Varan sink beneath the surface, then turned his attention back to his main ankle. It hurt to put too much pressure on it, but Gorosaurus had to live with it until he could return back to his ship to be healed. Turning back to the river, Gorosaurus leapt in, eager to find his opponent and rip the flesh from his bones. There was a splash behind him, but before he could react, Varan was clinging to Gorosaurus' back. Varan dealt two quick, deep slices to Gorosaurus' shoulder before smashing his fists over the saurian's head again and again. He pulled his right hand back to hit Gorosaurus again, but as his fist swung forward, Gorosaurus twisted his head and neck around, causing Varan to miss entirely. Gorosaurus swiftly clamped his powerful jaws around the back of his outstretched arm, pulling fiercely. Varan cried out in pain as he felt bones begin to snap under the pressure Gorosaurus' jaws were putting on his arm. Desperately, he dug his feet into the Allosaur's back and slammed his free hand against Gorosaurus' temple in an attempt again to release his grip. As Gorosaurus pulled, Varan's claws dug deep trenches in the flesh of his back, but Gorosaurus ignored the pain of his injuries and at last prized Varan off his back and threw him down onto the riverbed, stunning the spiked lizard. Before Varan could do anything, Gorosaurus' jaws wrapped around his throat, slowly crushing his trachea and suffocating him. Varan tried punching Gorosaurus, kicking, clawing, anything that would get the Allosaur to relinquish his grip on his throat. Stars appeared in his vision as he began to run out of air. He'd soon pass out if he didn't do anything soon. It was time to play dirty. Varan lashed out with his foot and struck Gorosaurus in the cock.
Okay, that was great.
Varan also gasped for air. His throat ached and burned horribly. His fat wasn't worth it anymore. He had to get away from Gorosaurus. He leapt into the air once again, rampings of skin deploying to his sides, and glided away from the injured saurian. Gorosaurus recovered in time to see Varan land on one of the valley walls and start to frantically clamber up. Normally, Gorosaurus could have given up at this point and gone home, but that was not his choice to make anymore. His master demanded Varan to be his, in mint condition or not. Gorosaurus bounded forward, barely reaching the valley wall in time to grasp Varan's tail in his jaws. Varan responded by trying to scrap Gorosaurus, but this only made it easier for the Allosaur yanked the cloudy off the rock face and back down to his level. This time, however, Varan was quick to correct himself, launching himself at Gorosaurus and striking his chest with his clawed hands, sending blood and skin flying in all directions. As Varan prepared to strike again, Gorosaurus reared back and smashed into Varan's chest with the kangaroo kick. Varan was knocked back with a force, his breath literally forced out of his lungs by the attack, and fell to his hands and knees. Gorosaurus saw his chance of victory, and took it. Once more he charged forward, gaining speed, eager to sink his teeth into Varan's flesh and end this fight once and for all. Varan felt Gorosaurus approaching. He had to get up, otherwise he was finished. Pass.
Gorosaurus lunged. Varan leapt up. There was a sound of flesh ripping and a shocked growl. Varan had gotten up just in time for the spines on his back to lodge them deep in Gorosaurus' exposed throat. The Kaiju's groans of agony became gurgled as blood-soaked foam leaked from his open maw. At last, he toppled over, Varan's spines popping free in the process, and landed in the river belly up, the waters turning red with his lifeblood. His eyes dimmed and soon closed. The mighty Gorosaurus, predator of Mondo Island, rival to King Kong, slayer of Monster X, was dead. Varan looked at his dead opponent for a moment before rearing his head and crying out to the heavens, a warning to any other monster to leave his territory or face the consequences. He turned, and waded his way to the deep parts of the river. sinking beneath the surface as survivors from the village watched on. Back aboard the mothership, the leader stared at the screen in disbelief at what just happened. Why? He questioned. Why do my monsters keep dying? Winner, Varan.
Yeah, if that last line is of any indication, this is a... You know what? This is a better follow-up to Match 64 than the real sequel to Match 64.
Yep.
This is so much better. I have to, having read this 154, or 154, I'm sorry, 154 relatively recently, it's like, my gosh, this is, this follows, this greatly follows sort of the joke set in place of Regulator sends a powerful monster. It's a great use of the joke, too, because it's here, it's Monster X's killer is captured and used as a slave to fight another monster, only to lose. Which I think is hilarious. I think, this one was really just a far better sequel than what we actually got, was just the same thing done twice in a very boring manner. But here it's something very different, because it's alright, I'm going to use this powerful monster that killed my most powerful creation. And then it loses. And that's infinitely funnier than if Gorosaurus had won again, or again, match 154. So, kudos to you, Birdman, for this, really fun, and I think the fight itself is fun. The two are treated as equals. Granted, there was that point where, jokingly, it's that kangaroo kick to the face. It's probably should have been dead. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I know. But I think it's fine. I think it's perfectly fine. It's not, yeah, no, I think it's just one of those things where it's it's fine.
The kangaroo kick, it varies in power.
It varies. It does. Sometimes it's sonic boom, and other times it's just kick. So
yeah, it didn't shatter Kong's ribcage.
Right, Kong got back up from that repeatedly, but yet he uses on King Ghidorah once and knocks him down. So, whatever, it's inconsistent. It's fine.
We'll show Ghidorah was getting his crap kicked in by 4 other monsters. It's fine.
Yeah, I know. So I think all around, this is, again, just a far better sequel to Match 64 than the actual sequel to Match 64.
Yeah.
And I also have to say, what helps too is the banner. My gosh, Jackson Morris, what black magic do you use to do this? Because there is so much movement and activity in this banner. Both of them just wrestling in the water, the sloshing waves, and the friggin' way Gorosaurus just clamping down while Varan's just holding him. Oh, gosh. Probably one of my favorite banners, for sure. It's up there. It's easily up there. So, no. A really solid match with a fantastic banner. What can I say? But, going down the list, GVR, what'd you think of match 58? Or 158. 158.
Well, for starters, now we need a sequel to this where Varan gets captured by the Exilians and dies to Gazora.
There was a sequel planned. I'll go into that later, but continue.
Oh.
Okay. But yeah, no, I pretty much agree with Kaiju X. This continues the tone of Match 64 very well. And yeah, it was very entertaining fight in general. Good tooth and claw. Always good to see Varan get a win. I know we make fun of him a lot. He deserves it. But I think he's cool. Yeah, stuff. Good stuff. Kaiju X kind of took everything I would have said.
Sounds about right. And I guess before we get to Birdman, his thoughts and the other stuff, Nagoda, what'd you think of 158?
It's a lot better than the other one. I really like how instead of just doing Monster X is dying again, you actually took the winner from the other one and had him fight instead of just killing Monster X again. Plus, the banner looks amazing.
Yeah, I forgot to say, like, the banner is just gorgeous.
So that cannot be said enough. But yeah, Birdman. What were your? I guess like what were the inspirations for this matches, or for this match? Like, I guess any sort of like additional history can you say with this match? And then you had made mention of like you may have had like,
so for inspiration, I've nothing as much to say because it's been so long since this one wrote. Because like, not only was this the first one that I've managed to get posted on the KWC, it's the first one I ever wrote entirely on my own.
Wow,
really?
So. Yeah, if you compare this to, it was an experience writing it. It's definitely, yeah. If you compare this to some works that come out recently, you can definitely see how it's evolved stuff. But for where to start, I was very pleased by the positive I actually got at the time, and by you guys here. So for someone who at the time didn't really have much. Source of confidence. This was a major help.
Oh.
Yeah, I again once more beating the dead horse. Kudos to amazing work by Jackson Deans. He's done amazing work on the banner. It feels like he's taken a screenshot of the actual match itself in real life. That's what it looks like.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Again,
but yeah, I go back to it. Sorry. Yeah. I won't surprise he is a witch at this point. Everything he's gone silence because he got burned at the stake. But anyway, back to saying that there was a sequel planned. I just got procrastinated to getting around to it before I could write it. I did tease it at some point way back. I made a banner for it, but you probably wouldn't recognise it because it didn't have Ryan in it. That's probably why I didn't guess what it was. But if I grab it quickly, it might take you a second to just grab it.
All right. Do you want me to show it in the video itself, or?
You might as well.
Okay. All right. You hear that, Kaiju X to the future editing this? You put that image in this video.
Kaiju X from the future be like, no, I'm also not going to cut out the static.
Shh, they don't know that.
Yo.
Oh.
Ooh.
Oh. Okay. That's okay. No, now that makes sense why this one probably wouldn't, sadly wouldn't fly nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who uses Millennium King Caesar nowadays? Seriously. I almost said honestly, I'm sorry.
We just said it then, so you're still wrong.
No, my nuts.
You committed blasphemy.
But yeah, no. Alright. Yeah, I think, you did show that a long time ago. I didn't realize that was a sequel to 158. That's cool.
But I didn't want to, in my mind, I didn't want to go the obvious route as using the same plot as this one. Like, once they win the last one, fight another monster and lose it. So I want to go a different route. Give some of the lesser used monsters a chance to sign.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, definitely, like, lesser used monsters would absolutely need more attention. Yeah, it's just a darn shame that two of them have since been retired, because... yada yada. But yeah, okay, yeah, no, that, okay, no, that's interesting. That is interesting. But yeah, did you have like any additional things to add or anything coming to mind?
No. No, I've said my piece.
Alright. Fair enough. So, alrighty. But yeah, I think with that said, this has been match 158. And we'll see you guys next time for match 159. Till then, everyone.